Hwæt. So, what? Hail? Hwæt is, of course, the first word of the Epic of Beowulf in its original language of Old English. And so, what and hail are translations of Hwæt in three relatively recent verse versions of Beowulf by Seamus Heaney, R.M. Liuzza, and John McNamara, respectively. I was tempted to try and read aloud the first few lines of Beowulf to start out this mini lesson. To be honest, though, I've never taken a class in Old English, so I do not trust my ability to properly pronounce them. So, instead, in the materials for this module, I've included a link to a video of Justin Jackson, a professor of English at Hillsdale College in Michigan, reading those first few lines aloud. I've also posted a PDF file of the renderings of the first few lines in Heaney, Liuzza, and McNamara's verse versions, so you can get a sense of how translations of Beowulf tend to differ. You might notice, for example, that Liuzza tries to recreate the structure of the Old English line, which was made up of two half lines that each contained two beats. This created a strong sense of rhythm that reflects the literary epic's connection to an earlier oral tradition, in which songs about heroes such as Beowulf were sung in communal spaces like the hall described in it. Which is why I was also tempted to read aloud the first few lines of Beowulf, specifically in a lecture hall, to start out this mini lesson. However, our online class does not meet face-to-face in a lecture hall, so we'll rely on a more modern form of shared experience with this ancient song to create a sense of community for us. And that was the purpose of songs like Beowulf for the folks who created them. Although we tend to think of Beowulf as an English poem, its subjects are not English. Rather, it is a legend of the northern Germanic, or Norse people, who originally inhabited the regions now known as Scandinavia. Beowulf, for example, is a Geat from what is now Sweden, and Hrothgar is a Dane from what is now Denmark. Other Germanic tribes, including the Angles and the Saxons, began invading what is now England around 450 CE, bringing their language and culture with them. The sharing of songs such as Beowulf, especially in communal spaces such as the hall described in it, helped the members of these tribes of immigrants to maintain a sense of their linguistic and cultural identity in a new land. The epic was written down by an anonymous author centuries later, in approximately 1000 CE, when there was a flowering of Anglo-Saxon literature in the British Isles. So, even to its original readers, the events in Beowulf would have seemed like ancient history, and its language would have seemed old-fashioned, as they seem to us when we read it about 1,000 years later. Although the poem is primarily an epic, a celebration of heroic deeds, its purpose is also elegiac, in that it's a memorial to a culture and a language lost. With that in mind, I will attempt one more term in Old English. Beowulf is an eldelaf, which translates to an old thing that is left. And we are extremely lucky that it is still left, as there is only one manuscript copy of Beowulf that survived into the modern day. And, as evidenced by the condition it's in, that one almost didn't survive either. Tattered and burned, it is now preserved in the British Library. More importantly, though, Beowulf now survives in its multiple modern translations and retellings, in the form of not only books, but also comics, movies, and, yes, songs. So, for my conclusion to this introduction to Beowulf, let's go with John McNamara's translation. Hwæt Beowulf. Hail, Beowulf.